Good morning, or good afternoon, guys. Marshall here for today's training. It's a little late this week, or today rather. Yeah, the morning got away from me. So here we are. Today we're going to be talking about how controlling the other person, plays into the abuser's hands. So if we're dealing with a narcissistic abuser, an abuser at all, and we're trying to control them, we're setting ourselves up for some grief there. So before we get started on that, I need to share this out to the community. The community is the safe haven for survivors of narcissistic relationships, abuse, neglect, and people who struggle with codependency and finding their happiness in themselves. After that, that's where you go. The link's above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Be happy to have you and support you in reclaiming your happiness and rediscovering your well-being again. And if you're new to me, I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their well-being and happiness and get back in control of their life and their well-being. So that is now shared out to the community. This can be a touchy subject, guys, how controlling them plays into the abuser's hands. So in codependency, one of the impulses we have is to control. We want to control the other person so that we feel safer, so that we feel like we can understand them. We have a reliability in getting our needs and wants met. We can reduce the chaos. We can reduce the abuse. We can reduce the pain of the discard. We also want to control them because we don't trust them. They haven't earned our trust. They've typically violated our trust pretty severely, and we are very scared. We're in a very high level of anxious attachment and a high level of insecurity about our sense of worth to them and to the reliability and security of the relationship. So we try to control them. We tell them what to do. We remind them about the rules and basically parent, mother, or father them, depending on, if you're dealing with a female or male narcissist. We end up becoming more of their parent, and then they get resentful and they pull a 180 on us, and they start pushing that against us. They start making us the villain by saying that we're the controlling one. Now, they're not wrong in that we're controlling them, because that's functionally what we're doing. We win this by stopping the control and by letting them inherit the consequences of their choices. So control can be seen as a factor of enabling or fixing or rescuing. It can be seen as a tool in those concepts. When we stop this kind of behavior and we start letting them confront reality by having consequences happen, letting the consequence happen, it tends to liberate us from what's going on. That's really critical. It's important to connect with and consider. Because when we stop playing the game of control, they stop getting ammunition that allows them to turn it against us. So it would be like this. So if I was controlling an individual, like, for instance, I was telling them that they need to, they made it a commitment to do the dishes, for instance. And then I'm like, you need to do the dishes. You got to do the dishes. And they're like, well, I don't have to do the dishes. And I sit back and I say, they made a commitment to do the dishes and they didn't. So I'm going to let that stand. And then there's no dishes to eat on. Oh, no. And then you can simply say, well, you committed to doing the dishes. They didn't get done, so you don't have any dishes to eat on. It's going to cause you disruption. It's going to cause discomfort. It's going to make things unpleasant. But it gets you out of the control, and it gets you back into your yard, and it takes ammunition away from them. Because fundamentally, the only thing that can lead to any kind of change in anybody's life is accountability. We need to be accountable with ourselves. We need to own that, hey, I might be interfering with this or controlling them, so I need to step out of that and own what I need, own my own safety, my own security, and begin looking at the changes I need to make in my life so that I have more of that. And those changes can include leaving or ending the relationship. And they often do when we deal with narcissistic or abusive or unhealthy individuals who have no desire to actually change. See, a lot of times people say they want to change, but then when it comes down to the gritty facts of it, they don't. They don't because they don't want to face the pain. They don't want to work out the shame. They don't want to deal with the consequences they've created in their life, so they blame it. They displace it on others through blame and avoidance and excuses. Now, when it comes to narcissistic individuals, they don't want to change because they don't think there is anything to change. They think you need to change, right? You need to stop this. You need to change. You need to be this. You need to be that. They love to reverse that on to the codependent because, they think they're a victim, when in reality they're the perpetrator and they need accountability. Now, I'm going to put a big old star on this because if you're dealing with someone who's abusive, you're dealing with someone who doesn't respect you. And if there's any kind of threat towards physical violence, you need to be very, very careful here. If you're in an environment or a relationship where physical violence, your well-being, your actual life, your children's lives are at stake, you're going to want to look at how to exit that system safely and promptly so that you can save yourself, basically, so you can be safe from him. And that can take some time. I recommend checking out the hotline.org for information on dealing with domestic violence. You can also dial, I believe, 211 for information. And obviously, you can Google domestic violence support and guidance, and that'll get you all sorts of valuable resources on managing that. But when it comes down to fundamentally the game we're playing with unhealthy narcissistic individuals, is we want to reduce the ammunition we give them. And by stopping the habit of trying to control and parent them in their behaviors, we remove a huge amount of ammo from them, and then we can say, this is what you get when you don't do what you said you were going to do. You let consequence happen. You let reality happen. And that can be really destructive and painful, but it's an important element to accept and receive, because that gets you out of the cycle of enabling their behavior and enabling their attacks on you. Because they'll often come back and say, well, you did this and you did this and that's why I did this. Take the ammunition away from them, and then they're not going to have any claim to that. So that's my little tidbit for today, guys. Be very, very careful out there with this kind of stuff, especially if you're in an abusive relationship. Be gentle with yourself. And remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And be safe. We'll see you guys in our next. I'll see you in our next training video. And keep yourself safe out there. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.